What's up YouTube, Capital G here, showing you guys the Chaos Zone deck that was taking on Zark in yesterday's duel, and the deck looked really interesting and really impressive in that duel, in that replay. But when I looked at it on paper, I was taken back because I was like, damn, I knew that there were a lot of moving pieces in this deck, but I didn't think it was this many. And I kind of looked at the deck and my first impression was like, wow, this is a fucking jumbled mess. You got everything except maybe the kitchen sink up in here, and there's like so many different one-ofs. It's a 50 card deck. But then I actually started looking at it and I was like, oh goodness, I actually think that everything does kind of serve a purpose and it makes sense. One of the reasons that this deck is 50 cards and why that does actually make sense is because you have to think about cards like Necroface and Pot of Desires, cards that can take a lot of cards out of your deck. You know, Necroface takes like 5 cards off the top of your deck. Pot of Desires takes double that, and you don't want to be in a traditional situation where like you activate double Desires and you only have like 4 cards left in your deck. You're like, damn, I can't really do much with this. And this is gonna sound really crazy, but this, for a 50 card deck, actually has an extremely good grind game. You think about like other 50 card decks like Minerva Sworn or Infernoids, and they do put like really good fields on the board, but they burn themselves out so quickly and they don't really have any type of recovery if they get blown out by like a Mirror Force, or if they get blown out by like a Torrential Tribute or just something like really big, like those field clearing cards like Interrupted Slumber or anything like that. This deck doesn't actually have that problem because you have so much recursion. And yeah, you can obviously see there are so many ways of banishing cards, your own cards and your opponent's cards. I'll go into that in a little bit. But when you have things like Necroface that when you summon it can kind of take all of those cards that you banish from Allure of Darkness, that you banish from Fairy Tale Snow, that you banish from Desires, and just throw them all back in your deck, like you can kind of say that that's almost like a watered down version of Fiber Jar. Like, it's not quite a reset button, but it damn near might as well be. You also have Pot of Acquisitiveness, which is kind of like a miniature version, putting back all your maliciouses. It can put back some of the cards that you banish from Fairy Tale Snow. It can get cards back in your deck and get you a draw simultaneously. So it's like, wow, this is a 50 card deck, but it actually has a little bit of recursion. Now, when you really look at this deck, there are a couple of things that I like. Number one, the deck is hella disruptive. I don't care what you guys say. There are just some cards in the game that like I just fundamentally don't like fucking dealing with, and I think most people feel that way no matter what deck you're playing. Cards like Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, Dark Law, which is essentially a built-in Macrocosmos, they're just annoying ass cards. Like, nobody likes having all their cards banished unless you're playing a deck, you know, like this that is specifically designed to kind of be okay with that happening. So when you've got those type of like floodgates, they're just annoying cards to deal with, and this deck makes them incredibly powerful and potent fields. I mean, you guys saw that replay. Like, that was a field that could easily go toe to toe or be on par with like a DDD field. When you have Dark Law plus Ultimaya plus Crystal Wing plus Evil Swarm Nightmare, like that's a fucking hard field to crack unless you have like some sort of really good mass removal. The second thing is how this deck can actually get these like these 1-card monsters that have like 5,000, anywhere from like 5,000 to 13,000 attack. And that's done with like Necroface and Gandora. Gandora basically getting 300 attack for each card that's banished. And obviously when you play Macrocosmos and Desires and all this other stuff like Necroface, it's pretty damn easy to get this card really, really high. Necroface being another card, if you activate its effect a couple of times, activate its effect and then maybe activate Desires, and your opponent will have some banished stuff. If you have like Macro and you use like a Lure, and this card can easily be like a normal summon 4,500 attack monster, so you get a lot of damage. And it might look kind of weird. People might be like, well, why are you only running 1 Gandora? It seems like you might banish it. Gandora is kind of like, it's kind of like icing on the cake with this deck. Like, it shouldn't be a central theme to this because then you'd have to like restructure everything. But that is the reason why Equipped Wyvern is in here. Equipped Wyvern is a card that's, you know, it's a level 4, so obviously you can use it for Exceeds. You can banish it with Fairy Tale Snow. If it hits the graveyard, it searches your Gandora, and you can Foolish it, you know, like you don't have to rely on monsters to throw it in the graveyard because there aren't any. There are no mathematicians or anything like that. The only monster that dumps in here is something like Armageddon Knight, but that's usually used for like malicious. Now, I did like the hero engine in here. It's not just the Shadow Mist. By the way, you guys see all like the warriors. Of course, you got reinforcements of the army, but I like that Shadow Mist isn't just in here to get you malicious. Like, it actually has another target. It has the drill guy, which is a dark, and that means you can allure it. It's also a rota target, so you can instantly search it, and being a level 4 means that it helps you go into Evil Swarm Nightmare, and just having access to this card is huge. You guys saw when that guy tried to pendulum summon like 3 monsters, Evil Swarm Nightmare was just like, we just put everything face down. You can't really do anything with those monsters. So you've got Monk, you have you have Drill Guy, you have Shadow Mist, you have Armageddon Knight, Necroface, like all of these kind of combine into the fact that or into Evil Swarm Nightmare plays. Now let me go into the Heart and Soul of the deck, which not quite sure why it took me this much time to kind of talk about this, but Chaos Zone, if you don't know what this card does, I guess pretty much the gist of it is every time one of your monsters is banished, you add a counter to this card, and you can you can remove counters, and you get to summon a monster equivalent to the number of counters that you removed. Well, equivalent to those stars. Like if you have 4 counters on Chaos Zone and you remove 4 star, or excuse me, then you can summon a banished monster with 4 stars. Exactly. And it can be less than 4. It can be 1, 2, 3, but you have to go the exact number. So you can't remove like 4 counters and then summon like a level 2 monster or something like that. And you're probably not going to use this effect, but you can actually summon monsters from your opponent's banished zone as well, which can come in handy because with Necroface and Macrocosmos and D-Fissure, and I guess also Darklaw, you will be banishing a whole bunch of your opponent's shit. So, you guys saw him basically get like Monk back from his banish pile, and it was basically just an instant Darklaw from after that. And there's so many different ways of banishing. Like I could almost make a video on that in this deck. You have Necroface, you have Allure of Darkness, you have Fairy Tale Snow, you have D-Fissure, and also Macrocosmos, Malicious. Every time it banishes itself from the graveyard, it counts, because this card doesn't just it doesn't just count when you banish from the field, it counts when you banish from the hand or from the graveyard as well. So it's like there's so many different ways of being able to banish in your or being able to banish in this deck. So I think this deck is really cool. I kind of like how you can just kind of run like 5 cards in this deck, but then it feels like you get a whole complete hero engine and you get the ability to run Darklaw. And I know the traps look a little weird that he's running 7 traps, but I think the traps are in here because you don't necessarily want to, you don't want to open with like 3 traps. You just want to open with like maybe 1 trap, you know what I mean? Like you just want to have maybe a Darklaw plus like an Evil Swarm Nightmare and a Crystal Wing and have like a bottomless. Like you don't want to see all of these cards, but when you activate, Desires, you're probably going to banish like half of these traps anyway, so you just kind of want to see one of them. That's why I think running this many traps does actually make sense. And I don't really think that you necessarily even need something like Solemn Strike, because if you're making Crystal Wing in this deck, which Ultimaya seems really easy to do, like do you even really need the Solemn Strike? Like I think it's just better to not pay any life points, because you're like, other than the Mirror Force, you really don't have any ways of stopping attacks or anything like that. But anyways, just a really cool deck that I wanted to show you guys. I like the fact that it can summon Fusion, Synchro, and Ixie, so it's like a little bit of DDD going on there. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty sure I missed some stuff in this deck, but there's almost too many damn too many moving pieces in this deck to like cover everything without me making like a 15-minute video. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the deck, please give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.